All right. Let me see if this clown show works this time. I haven't, man. You'd think computers were invented yesterday, the way streaming services fail to function. I've got issues with every single one of them. Anyways, hey, it's Tyler. And let me know if you can hear me in the chat here. I am trying something a little different, shooting some B-roll. I wasn't really shooting B-roll. I started just filming a video, and you'll see me talking here. Great, fantastic. Thank you, Zonalar. And realized that the audio was, hey, NeoCal, was some combination of tons of wind noise because it wasn't windy for the about 2 minutes. If you know Oklahoma, that was foolish of me. My dog and cat were going nuts too. So, all right. Weird. Yeah, I have no idea what was going on with that. And yeah, oh, that's so awesome. Oh, right on. Congratulations for that. Yeah, your guys' graduation is a little late. Yeah, shooting some B-roll and tying it in because, as you all know, I like to connect all of my different hobbies together. And there was some discussion in the Discord. I can't remember who mentioned it. It may have been Shirgal or one of the others. But the biggest issue, and let me just try this automatically show. Oh, no. Nah, let's not do that. Never mind. Let's keep it a little cleaner. And we're playing around here. This is an impromptu stream that I think 7 people maybe will watch. But we were talking in the Discord. Let me finally get around to my point about how, hey, do extra systems perturb people from getting into tabletop RPGs? And I think it very specifically depends on the kind of system, right? It's kind of me like saying, oh, does there being more coffee than Folgers out there perturb people from drinking coffee? Does there being more tea than Twinings or what's one of the Lipton perturb people from getting into tea? Well, no, obviously not on the surface of it. But the presence of multiple bad teas, multiple bad coffees, meaning that a newcomer can just go to their store and buy Folgers, Maxwell House, Cafe Bustelo back to back to back and just get these vegetal, burnt, bitter, gross notes off of them, at least to my palate, right? That indicates a problem. But it does not indicate that variety is the problem. It indicates that the presence of bad things out there is the problem. So we need to put more good stuff out there so that people accidentally stumble upon the good stuff and not stumble upon the bad stuff on accident, right? Likewise, the methodology matters, right? We can repeat that mantra as true as it is. Oh, well, roleplay solves everything, right? But, roleplay is kind of the base ingredient. You have a really good core ingredient. The tea is really good. The coffee beans themselves are really good. The steak itself is from a local farm raised cattle, is grass fed, was butchered the day of, and that's all great. That is the thing that matters the most. But if I put a single tea leaf in a gallon of water, it's not going to matter how good that tea leaf was. If I put if I burn the hell out of my steak, yeah, well, it's just a waste of a good steak, right? The sort of methodology, that's the mechanics to me, right? And that's why I'm sort of making this Mechanics Matter series a series, rather. This Mechanics Matter thing, I believe this is the second one I've done. I'm not going to count them. I'm just going to give them all subtitles. And I'll pop them in a playlist. Zonar asks, what makes people try an RPG? It's being invited by a friend. Only the last 10 to 12 years had people try RPGs because they see somebody do it on YouTube. Yeah, that's very true, right? Uh, and unlike with coffee or tea, it's quite rare that somebody just goes into their game shop and buys an RPG because they like the look of the cover or something like that. I've almost done that before, seeing Tales from the Loop, but it had some of the issues I'm going to talk about more specifically that perturbed me from buying them. Not to say that graphic design and these things don't play a role, right? Likewise, YouTube and this space has brought a ton of people into specialty tea and specialty coffee, right? Knowing that the thing they do every single day has a higher step to it. They can put more into what they're actually trying to do, right? They can even try to do it. They can get better at it. The Chinese method of tea brewing, gongfu tea brewing. Well, gongfu just means great skill. It means you can be skilled at making tea. You can be skilled at martial arts, which is the common way that we use that terminology in the West. Kung Fu or Kung Fu, depending on if you're using the Cantonese or Mandarin. Driving Dragon says, that's how most of my friends and I discovered different games from the mid-90s forward. There you go. So, I don't know. I don't have a sample size on that, right? Seeing a book on the shelf and impulse buying it, and in the 90s, well, I don't remember the 90s that well. I wasn't alive for very long in them. But in the early 2000s, that was a lot more doable than it is today. RPGs are freaking RPGs are either totally free or like $50-$60 these days. Max and I have complained before about, you're paying $30 for a PDF. Like, nah, man, nah, get out of here. But yeah, there's this Chinese idea that you can become skilled at a lot of different things, right? The little things, your little day-to-day minutia that you can break up this tiny thing. And role-playing games, again, it's one of those things that becomes a habit. You get a group together every week or what have you, and you do it all the time, and then there's not really these attempts to improve or change things. Well, that's the whole 4D mindset, right? It's sort of that Kung Fu philosophy, that philosophy of continual improvement. Hey, G-Funk, awesome to see you. Early morning stream, at least for me. The principal difference here, and where I don't want to just repeat the 4D line that we're towing, is that I think the mechanics matter a hell of a lot here too. And in a particular way, right? Topic of the stream, finally, in particular, is retroactive rules. They just kind of suck, right? What are retroactive rules? Well, I'll go in order of the ones that I've rattled off here. Candela Obscura has one, which is effectively you don't write down your inventory until you use it. So it's a get out of jail free card, right? And Blades in the Dark, the core mechanic effectively is this retroactive system. Powered by the Apocalypse actively tells you to negotiate with the GM out of character and have a back and forth debate over, oh, I'm going to try to do this, but let's talk about how this works. And then depending on what we decide at the end, if it fails, if it succeeds, then what we're rolling for is going to change. All three of these have huge problems, and they can best be described as well, I'm on the playground, I'm playing superheroes with the fellow first graders, and oh, I hit you with my laser eyes. Well, my superpower is to reflect your laser eyes. My superpower is all of a sudden that my skin is made of diamonds, and I'm totally clear, so the laser doesn't affect me. When you're playing this game of one-upmanship like that, it's just kind of nonsensical, right? It makes it a game of the players being usually more than the GM or the ref or whatever the system happens to call it, are always going to be able to outsmart the GM. They don't need to have a built-in mechanic that allows them to cheat, right? Likewise, it encourages the GM to use more judicious use of the rule 0 of, uh-oh, I can't put anything here that really challenges them because it's dark. They didn't plan to bring torches. They didn't plan how they were going to get the torches to this wet and damp cave and actually have them be usable. They didn't plan on the smoke of the torches filling the room. They just, boom, I have a lantern. Well, hang on. If you always had that lantern, you just fell off of a car in the last scene. But because I didn't know you had the lantern, me, the GM, there was never a chance that I could have had it broken, for example. So there's this discontinuity in the world, right? And not in like a little funny continuity error where, oh, you can see earlier in Lord of the Rings, Gimli's axe is already broken in some of the scenes because they filmed things slightly out of order. Oh, that's kind of cute. No, it's things that can actively change the way that the game is played. That's a big problem. Hey, Timothy. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed those. I'm going to try to work my way through more system-specific stuff. People seem to enjoy those videos, and it attracts a slightly different crowd of my audience. Driving Dragons, CO and DH are not games. Arguably, all the PbTA games aren't either. You could really make that argument, right? The first two are platforms for improv. The latter are definitely storytelling games, if not outright story games. Exactly. They are not particularly good at role play because you're constantly having to go out of character to do storyboarding, to argue with the GM about, hey, what's going on right here, right? Can I use this? Oh, I know the rules don't allow me to use my sniper rifle at mid-range, but if I like couch it under my shoulder and look through my backup iron sights, can I? Oh, well, would you have had those backup iron sights? And just look at any Powered by the Apocalypse game and see that kind of thing. Hey, Uriah. Yeah, it's something I'm trying out. It probably won't be a regular thing, but I had some footage that the audio was not good on, and just threw it up in the background. That way you're not just looking at my ugly face in a black void. You're looking at my ugly face in front of a nice tea set. Exactly. That's the final 40, speaking without speaking. So, yeah, I am by far not a fan of these retroactive mechanics. The other reason is it just slows things down, right? Anytime that you have a retroactive mechanic where you have to go, oh, okay, well, if it's dark in here, then I had torches. Well, now we have to go, right? What are the consequences of that? As I mentioned earlier. Well, you just forded a river. You had those torches presumably the whole time, but just now wrote them down on your character sheet. So, okay, you get to have these torches, but they're all damp and you can't light any of them. And now that becomes we just wasted a ton of time, one of your limited resources, and nothing got accomplished. And now we're all frustrated. We're sitting here going, oh, this is stupid. And it's probably why Powered by the Apocalypse tells you, well, negotiate with the GM, have them back and forth. Maybe you can have the torches and they are damp, but I don't know. And now we're having to sit here and think like, what is a way that I can't just screw you out of this, right? Yeah, exactly. 9 times out of 10, retroactive mechanics are just, I can see the future too, but better than Kyle, right? It's one-upmanship, and you one-up each other until you run out of the mechanic or the resource that you're using for the mechanic, and then whoever wins, right? It's just playing top trumps, right? You flip over cards and I have a bigger number, you have a bigger number, I have a bigger number, and there's not really much that we're doing as far as gameplay even until one of us wins, right? The last thing that happens is what determines which one of us wins the encounter, right? But at the end of the day, what determines who wins the encounter is the GM, right? However, EDH Mastermind abilities are an example of well-done retroactive mechanics. I don't know if I'm super familiar with those, so you will have to enlighten me on that. Likewise, a thing that you could consider a retroactive mechanic that most people wouldn't is Advantage in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. But it's this idea of I roll, I see that I didn't roll very well. Oh, hold on, I've got advantage. Let me roll, take the better one. Inspiration in particular, though. Do I want to use inspiration on this? Oh, I don't know. 15 might be enough to hit, but maybe I need a 16 or an 18. And then we start playing 15 didn't hit, so but a 17 did, so it must be between 16 and is that as compelling or interesting as you in a dingy dungeon scrambling across the cobblestone, reaching for your dagger, your hand slips off, and burning that inspiration at the last minute, draw the sword instead? There's an example of how you could maybe role play it, but again, to me, that's the watered down tea. I would just rather not waste good role play on a half-baked, underthought mechanic, right? I would rather just use the good mechanics in the first place, right? Sonar says, I dig into my backpack and pull out the shotgun is the movie equivalent of pulling out a weapon or tool that would have been useful 3 scenes ago, but the writer didn't write the scene with that knowledge. Yeah, exactly. It's the and things play out differently when you do have that knowledge. You have the famous Indiana Jones scene where the Persian guy is doing all of the pirouettes and moulinets with his saber, and then Indiana Jones just shoots him with a gun because he goes, George, why on God's green earth would I get into a duel with this guy that's trying to kill me when I have a whip? Why would I use the whip and not just the gun? If the gun was always there. Oh, but if all of a sudden we don't know that he has the gun, well, now he gets into the duel with the whip and it just ends up being a stupid scene, right? Yeah, I'm with you as well. Makes me think out of character. I think a way to do it well, as I mentioned yesterday, and there goes the end of the B-roll. I'll just restart it here. How about that? I think a way to do it well is the Oracle in Pathfinder, the Mystery of Time in particular, where you are literally rewinding time, and it's only something that it lets you do for, a few seconds, a brief moment. It's not affecting things that happened hours ago in game, right? It also makes recaps really difficult, right? When the flow of time becomes so convoluted and you're thinking like, wait, Why didn't we do that? Oh, right, because he didn't have it yet, and etc. Right. This is what happens when you conflate the game with rolling the dice, right? The game is the role play. The mechanics facilitate the outcome of the PC's choices, also known as the role play. Yes and no, because oftentimes rolling the dice, especially in the exact example of inspiration, is attempting to manifest something diegetically in the world. Even when it's very loose, it's inspiration in 5e. When you roll that die, it is that sort of light bulb aha moment of, oh, okay, I've got it. I've got a breakthrough here. How you get the inspiration is not diegetic. It's totally meta. It's the GM handing out good boy points. You get a gold star for being the bestest role player. That I think is the worst part of the mechanic. But sticking to this in particular, yeah, some of the times it is just I roll the dice, right? But in like Candela Obscura, there's not even die that are being rolled. You just have an inventory slot that is blank until you do the thing, right? Um, the mechanic there is not the player character's choice. That's not what it's facilitating. It's just facilitating the player's choice. You just, oh, it would be nice if I had a lantern here. The character is probably thinking the same thing. It would be nice if I had brought a lantern, but there's no ability that the character has in the game world to just create a lantern out of thin air. Whereas something in Pathfinder, if you're a creation wizard, the creation subschool of conjuration, you can manipulate, wood or stone to create simple tools and objects out of thin air. The magic item, the any tool, which is just like an 8-inch bar of steel that can mold itself into any simple tool that you want on the fly. Those sorts of things. There, it's diegetic. There, it's representing a character's choice in the world. It's explained through the groundedness of the world. It's not merely I want to win this encounter. I want to not have to deal with it being dark in here. And it cheats you out of a lot of interesting things, right? Oh man, it would be nice if I had a lantern here. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's just oh, I'm just gonna play a character with dark vision. Oh, 3 out of the 4 of us have dark vision. Well, I might as well, as the fourth player in this game, also have dark vision. So I'm not gonna play a human because that sort of thing. That's not a character choice, right? That's pure metagaming. That's a player choice, right? Everyday heroes. Okay. The mastermind has abilities like I knew you'd do that, where you can spend plan points to be prepared for an enemy planner action. Way to play the master planning genius from action movies. Yeah, see, there you go. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, where it's representing something in the game. And when it's something that like one character or one item or one very specific thing gives you, that's different. That is now a diegetic mechanic rather than it's just a thing. It's just the way the thing goes, right? Blades in the Dark. Again, it's more of a story game. You're storyboarding. Oh, it's the sort of like flashback. You're planning the heist. Oh, okay. Here's how this heist could go down. This would look cool. And then once you've got all the mechanics out of the way, now the GM goes, all right, here's how it goes. And they re-describe it to you. And you're playing, live story time. Can be fun. It's not what I want, right? Going back to the coffee or the tea analogy, it was I can't remember what roaster said it, but there was a coffee roaster that said, coffee is a tropical fruit. we want it to damn well taste like it. I want my role playing game to be that tropical fruit, to be those juicy, odd, floral characteristics that you can only get from a natural process or a very light roast coffee. Because when you burn the hell out of a coffee, well, tons of stuff can taste like that. Chicory can taste like that. Tobacco can taste like that. Um, you know, burnt wood can taste like that, right? All you're tasting is the char. I want what's unique about role-playing games. If I wanted to storyboard with my friends, I would do that, and I have done that. We've worked on starting to make a comic. It kind of didn't go anywhere yet. I'm hoping that we can return to it at some point, but just do that hobby. There's nothing stopping you from just doing that hobby, right? Yeah, Sonar says, we went into the kobold-infested quarry, loosely tied up. Talash touches the mithril dagger hidden under his tunic. It was to show the GM I have a hidden weapon, even while acting as a prisoner. Yeah, exactly. That way I don't teleport a knife out of nowhere when combat starts. Another specific one that I really don't like about this are usage dice. I see those as retroactive, right? You can play, it's not as bad. You can play around them with you did bring 200 rounds of ammo, but some of the rounds are duds. Some of the rounds were the linkages on the belt on your M60 are starting to break up, and it's causing a lot of jams and failures to feed. If you're not familiar with the usage dice, it's basically, instead of keeping track of ammo or durability or anything like that, you have just every time you use a thing, you roll a usage dice, and maybe it's a d6, and maybe on a 1, oh, you use up the ammo, and on a 6, oh, you don't use up the ammo. Well, this creates the stupid thing. It's a thing I hate in movies, and this will be a thing for, taste, where if you just keep rolling 6s, what? I have a 25-shot revolver now? No, dude. Like, let's be real. And now I start thinking about how dumb these mechanics are and how lucky I am to keep rolling 6s, rather than how, just especially in games where it is a revolver. What, I can't keep track of the number 6 as I'm doing other things? If you can't, oh, okay, sure. I believe there are people out there that can't keep track of that, right? But I also don't believe role-playing games are for everyone. I believe there is a hobby out there for everyone, but I think you got to at least be able to count to 10 if you're going to play a role-playing game, right? I think this is also where digital tools can help us a lot. We can go in and have Shadowrun has Chummer. Pathfinder has no less than 3 or 4 different auto sheets where you click a button. Oh, my gun has a 3-round burst. I'm using a FAMAS. It's got 25-round magazines and 3-round burst. That's a confusing thing to keep track of in your head, right? So it just, every time I take a shot, I just click boom, shoot, boom, shoot, boom, shoot. And then Chummer tells me I need to reload here. Great. Fantastic. That way, I don't all of a sudden have to think, dude, was this guy, even if he is reloading, carrying like hundreds of pounds of ammo with him? Where was he storing all of this? Right? Likewise, does his ammo just all suck? Durability especially, right? Is this guy just snapping breaking and entering tools every single time he's using them because he's rolling really badly? So what Shauner would say, you don't want to use a luck dice. You don't want to use a luck mechanic. And I didn't get that for a while. I thought, well, aren't all dice inherently luck-based to some extent? They are, but you don't want it to be the whole of the mechanic. Otherwise, your world starts being dictated primarily by luck, rather than the die roll being this little change, right? The little influence on what's happening. Oh, damn, you really did get unlucky. like the Kobold Sorcerer did in this fight, where he just totally he misinterprets something. Common is not his first or even second language, and can't really make out the body language too well. He rolls a 1 on his sense motive check. He should be beholden to luck because he is not someone that is trained in or practiced in sensing what's getting a read on somebody, getting a good grasp for the truth. It's a character that's easy to lie to, so he's going to be beholden a little bit more to luck than somebody who wasn't, right? Keeping track of power attack, being startled or blinded, poison condition, having tools to take the mental load off to keep track of it all so you can focus on role-playing the combat. Right, that's exactly it. And when the tools do the inverse, when the tools are there so that the players can go, oh, I just have this thing, or, oh, I can just keep shooting. Great. That is when they focus on the mechanics. They focus on the world not making sense. And when that's the case, yeah, it's just not my thing, right? Just not my thing, right? Like, I'm looking at my cigar right here. I don't want to be thinking about how much my cigar costs while I'm smoking it. If at a given point I'm smoking a cigar and I think I really spent $20 on that, it's probably a bad sign. If at any point I'm thinking, oh man, the Rolero didn't do a good job here, they rolled it way too tight, those are not the things that you smoke a cigar for, right? You smoke a cigar to enjoy the flavor, to relax, take a load off, maybe get a buzz. That's the same thing with role-playing games, right? I'm not here to try and think of how I can trip up the players. I'm not here to think about how I can trip up the GM, right? When you introduce these mechanics, it makes these things way more adversarial, way more, oh, let's see how much of a clever boy I can be, right? Rather than how good of a role player can I be? How compelling and interesting can I make these scenes? So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about retroactive mechanics. I think they're just kind of lame. They make the game really slow because now you have to go over everything twice, and then things just get confusing. Not even just in recaps, but even in the moment. You can start with, wait, he started swinging his sword at the guy. Then it was revealed that the guy has really high armor class, so he went back, didn't swing his sword at him, and like I said, when everyone gets that ability, everyone can just pop a gun into their pocket and shoot the guy instead of trying to stab him. It becomes a much bigger problem than if that's one or a couple of characters' special, unique abilities. And the diegetics matter, right? The mechanics absolutely matter. I'll stay on for a few more minutes. Let's see. Oh, man. So I had a great question about this a while ago, and I think this deserves a video on its own, which is, how do you feel about counterspells or attacks of opportunity or these reaction abilities in general? Right, counterspell your counterspell. They're tricky, right? I think they're really good because they make you not feel like you're just a JRPG sprite that's sitting there bouncing in place as the rest of your party does their thing, all the enemies do their thing, and then you're just sort of waiting like, well, I just have to. This guy's punching me or stabbing me in the face or shooting a rocket launcher at me, and I just have to take that until it's my turn again. Right? They help put this forward time back into the game. This, oh, I'm alive, I'm real. These things are happening ostensibly simultaneously. I can suspend my disbelief easier when the guy starts to draw his sword. Oh, I'm going to try to snipe his hand with my sword because I already have it drawn. I'm not going to let him do that, at least for free. And that's why I don't exactly hate the language. Like, and I haven't really seen people talking about this a lot recently, but you know, overuse of like as you do that, as that happens, while sometimes you have to use that language if somebody's jumped the gun, right? If somebody's I do this. And it's one of my I think that is a great reason why I don't hate I'm gonna do this. I try to do this, right? Because it helps you play around the possibility that somebody disarms you with an attack of opportunity, that somebody counterspells your spell, that somebody quick draw pulls out an orb of nullification that just nullifies magic within a 30-foot radius. So as your fireball arcs through the air, it just fades into nothingness the moment it enters this orb's radius, or what have you. If you just do the thing, it becomes an issue of my sister-in-law. She played with us once, and as part of her attack, she just said, I cut the guy's head off, right? In the first game that we played together. And we had to go like, whoa, wait a minute. You can attempt to do that, right? You don't immediately succeed at doing the thing, right? And yes, we are live, Nicholas, for at least a few more minutes. I don't know how much longer I'll stay alive. Right. Be mindful that the other people are out there. They're not frozen in their JRPG state, even though it's turn-based. I like these insertions. And in my own game, I'm trying to find an elegant way to do simultaneous combat, to have all of these things truly going off one after the other. I swing my sword at you, you have your turn, but now that you're being swung at, you're prompted to take your action, right? You are prompted to maybe burn a stamina and then have the ability to actively parry it, to abandon your attack, parry, but it takes stamina or something like that. And I think the flaw with that could be that, well, it would have to be limited, right? It would have to be limited by the stamina so that you don't just get this back and forth of two guys dueling in a corner over here going boom, 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 boom. And then the other four people at the table are like, it's been 34 years. Can I have my turn? But I really wanted the victory pose for Talash there. Yeah, and I think that was fine. I don't think there was an issue with the way you did that. I'd have to go back and watch it to see exactly if there were any issues with it, but I mean, I just thought you picked the thing up. He was, unconscious, bleeding out of his neck. There's a thing where that's just role play, right? This character's totally helpless. You don't need there's no need to call for a roll or anything there, right? And these retroactive mechanics could hurt that by me going, oh, he's started to do a thing. Maybe the kobold retroactively had a little steel gorget under his robes, and the rapier just glanced off of it, and it was a glancing blow, and aha, he's actually still alive, and he starts wrestling with you. That would be dumb. That would be cheesy. The one or second time, the first or second time it happened. Right? Do you have the neck grab talent? Oh, I didn't when we started this game, but I have an ability that I can pick it up right. Nah, man. Nah, man. I can go back and I can add to the tea, and go back and I can add it, make it stronger, but only if I already have the tea, right? We're stretching the analogy a bit at this point, but I can't unburn the cigar. I can't smoke a cigar I don't have. It's important to let things that are done, let mistakes be made, because it's what leads to compelling scenes, right? So when you have a mechanic that's actively not letting these mistakes hold weight until you've run out of the resource. Oh, okay, so your fourth mistake actually matters. Oh, okay, cool. That's that's a compelling world. I can fuck up and not plan for anything 3 times, and then my lack of planning on my part will start to matter. Not for me. Don't put the cart before the centaur. That's probably really offensive too. Although it is a bit of a misnomer of a phrase, putting the cart before the horse, because by the late Middle Ages, there were several cart, particularly military wagon setups, that were pushed. So they noticed a problem a lot of the times if you have a chariot, or you have the military wagons with the short-lived wagon fort system. If the horse gets shot because it's what's sitting out in front, or trips over something and dies, well, you've got a big problem now. Whereas if the horses are behind the fortification, the armored covered wagon, it's much less likely to stop there. But it is really inefficient. It's little aside there on wagon warfare as an interesting period in history. Imagine though if I did that in the middle of a game, right? If I said, actually, GM, I never specified whether my cart was a traditional pulled cart or it was a pushed cart. So I'm going to have my cart be pushed so your arrow actually hits my wagon harmlessly. And it's just lame, For all the rambling I've done this stream, it's just lame. Retroactive knowledge checks. I'm trying to think about that. Pathfinder, I think, does it right, where you are not allowed to make new knowledge checks until you are presented with new information. So if you make a knowledge check and fail it, then you just don't know about the local industry until the next day you go to the library, you go to the tavern, and you ask people, or you read a book about the local industry. Now, I can see kind of what you're saying, though. When you make the roll and suddenly you crit, you roll a ton of hits and you succeed. Oh, yeah, in fact, you do know that this was a prosperous limestone quarrying town. Well, hang on. I didn't 5 seconds ago, but you must have, right? And because the knowledge is intangible, I think that's fine, right? Uh, you can have forgotten something or it just not been off the top of your head. I forget things all the time that I actively teach, right? Somebody will ask me a question. Oh, what? what happens if you hold your hands this way? And I go, oh, yeah, you can do that. It wasn't what I was thinking of. It wasn't what I planned on teaching today. But now that you mention it, yeah, that's true. I can forget that I brought a knife with me to the airport. It doesn't make the knife disappear, though. The physical object is there or it isn't, right? That's a good one. That's a good question. Oh, I just noticed StreamYard has a nice little thing now where whenever you ask questions in the chat, for me, it pops up a little question mark next to them. So if the chat's moving really quickly, I know what the questions are and can highlight those a little easier. That is a nice feature. I say that because I was just about to ask if anybody had any other questions or comments, things you want to yak about. Because otherwise, I think that tea will grab a couple more brews out of it. Well, that's something I want to say in closing then. This tea, really high quality leaves. You can have really high quality role players. But if you let the water get cold, if the mechanics of the role playing system you're using, the process of the tea brewing you're using are not quality to match the quality of the tea itself, to match the quality of the role playing itself, you'll get what happened with this third brew here. The water had cooled off too much. It wasn't nearly as good as the first two brews. So mechanics matter a hell of a lot, and that's a series, a mantra I will keep repeating along with roleplay solves everything. Because hey, I like a steak as much as the next guy, but it still needs salt and pepper, and it still needs to not be well done. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I try to get to everybody. Let me know what your thoughts are on this weird B-roll non-talking head, talking void. I don't know what to call this. I just know some people do it. And there you go. Made me think of a silly analogy. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.